Our guest today, John Mauldin, makes a very persuasive argument that the embedded tax increase as the George W. Bush tax cuts roll off in 2011 will plunge us back into a double-dip recession. John, it sounds horrible. It sounds like the Congress is ganging up to do this terrible thing to us. What should they do? Should they simply pass a new law and make the tax cuts permanent?
Yes, and I would say quasi-permanent. We're going to need those tax increases in the middle of this next decade, when the Medicare spending and health spending really viciously kicks in. And we're using them now when we should be cutting spending and redirecting our budget. And so we're wasting them. I mean, we can't increase taxes another 10% 5 years from now if we do it today. I mean, the reality is government has just gotten too big. We can't grow ourselves out of this over the next 3 or 4 years. We need to cut spending, I mean, that's military budgets. We need to cut healthcare budgets. We need to cut education. I mean, all of this stuff, and that sounds frightening, but we can't run trillion-dollar deficits forever. You run into the wall. I mean, it's like Japan. I think Japan is a bug in search of a windshield. Okay. And they're getting ready to hit the wall. Their savings have gotten down to where it's only about 2% now. When they start, as an older, dying country, literally, start having to spend their money to sell their bonds in order to fund their retirements, Japan's going to have to find some place to raise money.
That's right. It may not be their own citizens.
It may not be their own citizens. So, and we don't want to get ourselves to that place.
So this sounds all fine and good, but the economy, at least listening to a lot of folks, is in a very unsettled, dangerous state, even though it seems like we may be coming out of this recession, or we have come out of it. So what do you do near term? If you cut government spending immediately, don't you just kill the economy, put that many more people out of work, dig yourself that much bigger a hole?
You can't cut it all in one day. I mean, you have to say, give yourself a credible glide path. We're going to cut, and pulling a number out of the air, 100 billion, 150 billion a year from the deficit for the next 5 years to get down to sustainable deficits. And you do that through a combination of increases of fees, you do it with cutting spending, through actual growth. And if the markets see that you've got a credible plan and you're really going to stick to it, we won't see the crisis in the bond market that will happen if we don't show some kind of credibility. If you really feel like we've got to, and the Democrats do, increase taxes, then stage them in. Don't do it all at once in a weak economy. That's a sucker punch to the gut. You know, let's do a quarter of the increase a year up until the economy is really on some, back to trend growth. But don't do it all at once.
Do you think there's any chance that will happen?
No. I mean, Pelosi and Reid don't get it. I mean, that whole crowd really doesn't believe that taxes, despite what Christina Romer says,
she's
Obama.
Forgotten that now.
She's forgotten her research. This is Obama's National Economic Advisor, for people who don't know, who says that tax cuts have a 3 times multiplier. But this crowd in general, they just don't get it. And they don't think that the Bush tax cuts made any difference. They are ready to go ahead, and they're going to do it.
All right, so let's take a more positive scenario as a last quick question. Clinton came in, the deficit. Suddenly, everything turned out to be much better than people thought.
Because Newt Gingrich said, you can't spend. And so they just stopped spending. And the country grew, and amazing, the growth, caught up with the don't spend, and we started running surpluses. And then George W. came in with Denny Hastert, and they blew it. I mean, we had these wonderful surpluses that we should have saved and banked, and we didn't. And we made a lot of bad choices. We were like runaway teenagers. We made the easy choice. Republicans thought they could buy votes just like Democrats did, And so now we're faced with bad choices.
Do you think there's any chance in 2011 that the economy has enough steam that we can withstand the tax increases?
Sure, there's a chance, but I'd put it at a 20 to 30% probability. I mean, I think the higher probability is another recession.
Thank you, John.